All right, so we got to talk about integers today, and your learning target is I know how to read and write integers. Okay, so what is an integer anyway? What is that? What does that even mean, Mr. Johnson? Well, let me tell you what an integer is. It's any positive or negative whole number. Okay, it's got to be either positive or negative, and it's got to be a whole number. So let's do some examples here. Examples of integers would be like the number 3. 3 could be an integer because it's a whole number. There's no decimal, there's no fraction, and it is positive, so it meets those two criteria right there. It also could be then negative 197. How about? It's a negative number, so that's fine. And then it's also whole. There's no decimal. There's no fraction. It's therefore an integer because it's a whole number and it's a negative number. So examples of non-integers would then be like 3.74. This is not an integer because it's a decimal point. It's not a whole number. Okay, so we could also say that 14 over 15, that fraction, is not an integer. Even pi. Pi would not be considered an integer then because it's not. They are all not whole numbers. Okay, so an integer, just to summarize, can be a positive or negative whole number. So let's go on to some examples. All right, example 1 says write an integer for the situation. We have a loss of 12 yards. Okay, a loss of 12. So if I'm going to write an integer in terms of this situation right here, if we're losing 12 yards, I know 12 is our integer, and I know I have to make it a negative because loss is kind of just going backwards. So that's all you're doing right here is you're just writing an integer for the situation. A loss of 12 yards means we have negative 12. Negative 12. All right. Then we have example 2. Again, we're writing an integer for the situation. It says a snowfall of 4 inches above normal. Above normal. So I know I have 4, and I have to determine whether this is going to be a positive or negative number. It's above normal, which means that it's not going to be negative, so I just write 4. That's it. All right, now the last example we're going to do, it says graph the set of integers on a number line. Okay, so the first one, it says we have to graph negative 3, 3, and negative 2. So let's take a look at negative 1 first, and here's our number line. We have negative numbers going all the way out. This arrow says that that's going to go out to negative infinity. And then we have all these positive numbers out here to the right, and this arrow says that this number line is going to go all the way out to positive infinity. Okay, so we first now have to graph the point negative 1. So we go on here. We know we're at our origin. 0 is the origin. It's the very beginning place. And if we got to go to negative 1, we know that we're just going to find this negative 1 right here, and we're going to put a dot here to graph negative 1. Okay, next number is 3. So I'm start at my 0. Now I have to go over a positive 3 amount. Put a dot there. And then we have the integer negative 2. Okay, again, start at 0, go back to negative 2. So those 3 numbers there, where I just graphed those 3 numbers, this would be exactly what I'm expecting of you when I ask you to graph a set of integers. Okay, you find those 3 numbers, negative 1, 3, and negative 2, and then you put them onto the number line by putting a dot over the number on the number line. Okay, that's it. That's it. This is a pretty easy lesson. Hope you enjoyed it.